Paltrocast.
So many things to ask you about because you have this summer stadium arena tour that's selling out everywhere. You have Popped, you have another 5 jobs beyond all of that. But all that said, Mark, how's your day going aside from talking to fake news media?
Uh, Fantastic. I just had a fantastic morning dog walk with my two dogs and my girlfriend and her two dogs, and we went to the coffee shop, and it was tremendous. How about you?
Nonstop but good. I mean, you're interview number one of three today, but you've sold a lot
Good, man.
more records than all the other people. How's that?
I'm not sure that matters, but I like that you're staying busy, and hopefully you're interviewing people whose music you're passionate about.
Well, I am passionate about your music. When I was a young lad, I interned at Atlantic Records in the heyday of breaking records. And
Right.
my impression of you, Mark Bryan, was you were always prolific with the solo records, but you were also big into discovering new artists. I think you were onto the Jump Little Children bandwagon pretty early in a good way, Virgin Wool, etc. So my conclusion was you were the music guy in Hootie. Am I wrong?
Well, I think all of us were into the Jump Little Children thing early on. That they were one of the most unique bands from anywhere, and they happened to be from our area, from Charleston. So, we were onto them early. I remember seeing them busking in the streets of Charleston even in the early days. And so we were huge fans. Still to this day, they put out an album a couple years ago that was so good. I mean, like they're just an amazing band. But I will give Rusty Harmon some credit on some of the other acts. He's the one that kind of found Virgin Wool, and they were really cool.
Yeah.
And then, he might have been the one that sort of pulled the trigger a little more on Treadmill Trackstar than the rest of us, even though we all really liked them and believed them, and were friends with Angelo from Treadmill Trackstar, who actually tried out to be the drummer in Hootie when Sony did. uh, that's how
Oh,
far back that goes. And so we
yeah.
loved Angelo and Treadmill, but Rusty was kind of the one that said, "Hey, maybe," and everything. And it was a team effort. But I certainly kept my finger on the pulse of it, and it was not something that I had a dream that was for to run a label or anything that was in, that I was thinking I was going to do. It was just suddenly put before us with all our success. And Rusty kind of went to bat for us and set that up, and all of a sudden it was this opportunity. And the way I like to look at it, and I think all of us did, was, hey, here's this chance to show the rest of the world about some of these acts that we know about in our area, or they didn't even have to be from I mean, Treehouse obviously from Liverpool, and JC that ran our label got a lot of credit for that one. And it was a team effort, and so it was this way for us to just look at things like, hey, we can help people discover new music now through this. And
Yeah.
I did look at it pretty passionately, even though it wasn't something that like I said, like I had dreamt of, or it wasn't what I was hoping for or anything. All of a sudden it was just right there. It was this opportunity, and we tried to make the most of it. And I got to be honest with you, man, that's not where my heart is in the music industry, is owning other
Well,
people's music.
if I can rudely interrupt you, Mark, before I ask you
Yeah.
about Popped, when I had the pleasure of interviewing Sony the first and second time, I asked him about breaking records. When he said you basically became the man, the way that you look down on record companies for all the shortcomings. Yes, they bring great things to the table, but then anytime somebody screws up, it's the management's fault, it's the label's fault. That's kind of what happened with breaking records, where it started off giving great opportunities and then became, oh, we're to blame too now, we're the man. Is he totally off base on that?
No, it's 100%. And I remember sitting down with Jump Little Children in person so that wouldn't happen with, because they were my friends. They were our friends
Yeah.
before we entered into this weird contract and everything. And so ultimately we were able to just give them their album back, but not before there wasn't a label budget put towards them and all that. So it was a lot. It was not something we ever wanted to be involved with. And I kind of hoped that I wouldn't have to be. I hope that I could stay on the creative side of it, and on the side of, like you were talking about earlier, finding new talent and showing it to the world. Like that was noble. But as you know, you can't do anything halfway, and so
Yeah.
I ended up having to be 100% involved with it because, you know, Rusty too, he was managing us aside from trying to look after this label. No, it became everybody's side project. And then we had some trouble with the people we hired running it, that kind of thing. And it just was not, it was more of a headache than it was beneficial in the long run. But I hope that the bands that we gave a shot got something out of it. You know, that's all you can say from it.
I'm
And as
sure.
time moved on, you know, I started my own company, Chucktown Music Group, and everybody thought I was starting a label, but it wasn't. I never signed an act to any kind of deal of any kind, really, any kind of label deal of recording contract or anything like that. I was just more of a producer and working in that role, and still trying to help develop acts, but more from the creative side. And so
Right.
that's where that's where I still sort of my heart lies. And so when I release my own music now, I've just been self-releasing, and you know, my ideally I would love to see us make another Hootie record and do it all on our own, no outside writers, and release it on our own. I think that'd be a really cool thing. But maybe we'll get there,
Right.
maybe we won't. Either way, I'm happy, and this tour this summer is just spectacular. I'll give you a good segue there.
Well, no, I was going to ask you one or two more questions about Popped. Then we'll go tour,
Sure.
and then we'll ask a clickbaity question that then makes Blabbermouth wake up and go, "Oh, they talked about us." Okay, and that's with Popped. You've got horns on there, and people go through your solo discography. They hear the country influence in a good way. I like a little more rock and roll that song because it's hooky, yet it's humorous, and I disagree. I think current country is more 80s rock influence more than ever. But anyway, we get that. We get the reggae. We get the country. You're all over the place in a good way. And Popped has horns on it. Are the horns the last thing to go into it? Or did you know all along that you wanted horns?
Knew all along for those songs. It's more a question of when I write songs, I hear them out in my head.
Yeah.
And the way I heard those songs, I already heard the horn parts. And then I had my buddy Charlton Singleton do the horn arrangements, and he's the trumpet player on it. But you know, in my head, I already kind of had the feel of that song or those songs going, and so I knew I was going to add the horns. Yeah, and
Got
that's
it.
the way it is for all the songs. Like, as I develop them, I hear the parts, I hear how I want them to go, and I hear the arrangements, and I work them out. And those just happen to include horns. But I use, you know, a lot of different little instrumentation here and there, depending on the song, based on what I'm hearing in my head, trying to elaborate.
So when you have an album like Popped, it's your own company. There's not pressure because you're not worried about first single and third quarter or earnings and all that kind of stuff. How do you know that Popped is done?
That's a great question, and that happened very naturally this time. So I started recording the songs, I guess, sometime late last summer of 23. And by the time it was time to go on tour and start rehearsing for the tour this summer, we were
Yeah.
at 12 songs. We had 12 songs tracked. And it wasn't like I put that on the calendar and, you know, just that's how it worked out, man. We got after it and started making songs and making tracks. And next thing we knew, I had 12 songs tracked, and I was like, and I'm getting ready to go on tour. I'm like, this is a good place to stop. And I mean, I could have kept going. I've got a whole bunch more song ideas that I'm gonna start on once we get off tour, you know. But at the time, it was like we need to shift into tour mode. And also, my engineer is my guitar tech for the tour, so
Oh,
yeah, we're partners on both sides of it, which is just an amazing thing to have. By the way, if you're lucky enough to have somebody like that in your life, like he is as passionate about engineering and teching as I am about songwriting and playing, and so we're a good team. And if you're lucky enough to find somebody like that in your career, go for it. We've been together now almost 30 years, you know. So we
wow.
just both shifted, and he also mixed and mastered, you know, the record. So once we got to that point where it's time to shift into tour mode, we were like, all right, let's mix and master these 12 songs. And then he went into tour mode, and I went into like doing the artwork and everything that goes into to putting it out, you know.
Well,
And
a
then we've been
positive guitar tech story to say the least. You usually don't hear about the guitar tech sticking around more than 4 or 5 years. Is this person also involved with Carolina Studios and College of Charleston and those projects of yours as well?
No, he's not been involved with anything College of Charleston, but By the way, his name's Mikey Costanzo.
Okay.
And we picked up Mikey back in 96 or 7 or something like that when he was working with They Might Be Giants, and we toured with them. And then
Oh
he
yeah.
after and then he was free after that, and we needed somebody, and we picked him up, and he's been with us ever since. He's a great guy. But he has helped out with Carolina Studios just a little bit, whenever I need an engineer to come in and just retool one of the rooms, or get a second look at it, from our day-to-day instructors at Carolina Studios, who are engineers, but not to the level that he is. And so if they need help with one of the rooms or with the bus, he'll come and look at the setup and make sure they have the right gear they need, whatever it is. So he
Yeah.
has helped out with Carolina Studios a little bit, here and there.
I perked up on They Might Be Giants. I used to be on their management team a couple of years after, I guess, Mikey left the fold with all that. So who?
Yeah, you may know this too. Their tour manager at the time, They Might Be Giants, was Mike Kelly, who has been our tour manager also since. See, he came around the same time as Costanzo, maybe a little later, and he's been our tour manager since, I don't know, 2000, something like that. Mike Kelly
Wow.
has.
So when you get down with Mark Bryan, you're either going to be there for 6 months or 30 years. That's what I'm kind of hearing.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, those are two guys of, I mean, double digits on our crew, but
Mhm.
double digit amount of people on our crew that have been with us since the 90s. We also still use the same production company, SES, and they were out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and they've been doing our sound and lights since the early 90s. So we've known a bunch of those people as well for that long. So you're talking about a ton of people who are crew together now, for a long time, many years, and everybody feels it. It's really special on tours like this one and the one in 2019 too, where we hadn't done it for a while. Then you come back and you're like, oh my God, this is really special that we still get to do this. All these same people together, making it happen every night, you know.
So when I had the pleasure of interviewing Will from Collective Soul a couple months back, when the tour had just been announced, what I said to him was, what you, Edwin, and Hootie all have in common is you both had hits on Atlantic in 94 and 95. You were all Southeastern artists on Atlantic, not New York or LA artists. And you all kind of thrived after you left Atlantic, and business is great as ever. Did you realize that? And he went, oh, no, I didn't realize that. Do you realize that before I say that, the commonalities of all three of you on tour?
I think that, well, the two different questions. Yeah. And so, the very thankful for being on tour with this group of people, old friends. You feel it. You feel the nostalgia of it. That part is wonderful. And I would say the industry difference that I really notice is that, there was there's always been income in touring, but
Hmm.
now that's your only source of income.
Hmm.
You can't base a budget around the income from streaming or sales anymore, which you could do back then, obviously, and that's the big difference. You know, now touring is the necessity if you're talking about income, just on a business level. And I
Right.
think all three of these acts are appreciating the business we're doing on this tour, but it's just as important to all of us to be out doing the thing and playing the music together in this community. Like, I swear to you that there hadn't been one conversation about money the entire tour. So it's a really beautiful experience being out with these people and feeling the depth of community and literally collective soul, not just the band, but like there is
Yeah.
collective soul on this tour. And Edwin is the one that named it Summer Camp with Trucks. And, so it's just very vibey, man. It's great. Very happy about it.
And the blabbermouth promise clickbait thing, if this is a no, I'll go to one more complimentary question. Okay, so Edwin, there's a great story about him. I can't remember if he unearthed it on TikTok. It might have been that. He was talking about opening up for David Lee Roth in like 94 in one of the South Carolina clubs. And Collective Soul opened up for Van Halen in 95 or so. I wrote a book about David Lee Roth, so one of my things to do is ask if anybody had any connections to Van Halen. And when I asked Sony, he just said, "Oh yeah, we were big fans." Now I remember Hootie's always been great with covers. Your MTV Unplugged had that great Tom Waits cover. Over the years, great covers have happened. Okay, so the two-parter. Did you ever cover Van Halen within Hootie? And or how big of a Van Halen fan were you?
I'm a gigantic Van Halen fan. Gigantic. First six records, David Lee Roth. And I think Eddie is one of the all-time greatest. I want to say this because everybody puts him on the top with the guitar playing, and he is. But he's also one of the all-time greatest riff masters who came up with these song riffs, like Jimmy Page did with Zeppelin, where you're like, what a fucking riff. And so Eddie is, I think, underappreciated for that, for his songwriting riff ability. It blows me away. I think he's one of that to me, he's one of the greatest of that of all time, aside from being one of the most influential guitar players of all time. He changed the way people play the instrument, for crying out loud. Now, we were at the Grammys. We got the one where we won the two Grammys in 90, I guess it was 96. We shared a dressing room with Van Hagar Van Halen.
Oh,
we shared the dressing, like the same couches, and there was all our room, So we come in and they're all super cool, and we're meeting them and shaking hands with them and everything. And I tell Eddie, what an influence he is on me, and I talk about the riff thing and everything, and he just gives me this big hug. A friendly guy. He has a big smile on his face. All of them were so cool. Alex too, just super cool guys, man. Michael Anthony couldn't have been cooler.
right.
And so that was our first experience, was sharing a dressing room with them. And there's a picture from the after party with me and Eddie Van Halen and Emmylou Harris and Daniel Lanois. And I've never felt cooler in my life. So anyway, very special moments with Eddie there. And then we saw Eddie Van Halen again when we played Rock am Ring in Germany.
Oh yeah.
It's this big outdoor festival at a racetrack, and it was like Bon Jovi, Van Halen, us, Slash, and Ugly Kid Joe. And the guitar player from Ugly Kid Joe was talking to me, and he saw Eddie come up, and he goes, "Shredward." And so we went over.
Was that Klaus?
We went over.
Was that Klaus from Ugly Kid Joe?
I can't remember who it was. Anyway, maybe. Anyway, so we go over, and of course, same thing. They were super cool, just all smiles, and it hugged us again and everything. It was great seeing them again. And then we're making our third record at Royal Tone Studios in North Hollywood, I think, or somewhere over the hill. And we're in Studio B, and in Studio A is David Lee Roth, and he's doing a solo album. And so we all had like coffee break around the same time one day, and we had a nice talk with David Lee, and that dude never stops talking, and he went off subject the whole time, but it was so entertaining, and he was really cool, really nice, but like you can't get a word in edgewise, and then he just will suddenly change the subject or whatever. It was pretty wild. It was exactly like I remember him from interviews when I was a kid. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? And then same thing happened when I met him in person. But I'm a huge fan. So there you go. That's how much of a Van Halen fan I am. Unfortunately,
I just visualize in the Hootie days when you did a lot more covers that you would have covered Ain't Talking About Love.
Unfortunately, we never covered Van Halen with Hootie and the Blowfish. But we did Dean and I did Ain't Talking About Love in our high school band.
Oh.
And we did You Really Got Me in our high school band. And we did, and we did Out of Love.
Wow.
And yeah, we did Out of Love again from Van Halen 2. We did probably some other ones too. So that was high school though.
Okay, you just got even cooler in my eyes, Mark. So the bottom line is Hopped is the new record. It's not the last album. You got more ideas for songs. You got this summer tour. It's consuming a lot of brain cells. You stay busy with Carolina Studios, College of Charleston, etc. Is there any other project or cause I haven't plugged or spotlighted that I should be?
No, I mean, you're on it. Thank you for knowing all that. And, I don't know, doing your diligence. I appreciate that. It's really focused on these two things right now, which is just having a blast with my buds on this tour and bringing these songs to the people. and they feel it, man, every night. It's so incredible, the response that we've been getting. And so I'm really focused on that and playing great shows, and then and just trying to let people know about Pop slowly but surely. Hoping that the songs affect people the same way these Hootie songs are affecting people, and that same way my favorite songs affect me. Those are my two main goals right now. I'm having fun doing videos. I did this on my last album too, where I did like 5 or 6 videos for the album, and I'm doing the same thing on this one. The third one will be out this Friday for the song Ain't Nothing Better. And then there's, I think, 3, I'm going to have 3 more videos after that. I'm just slowly but surely making them and being creative and having fun with it, even while I'm on tour. So it's been good. That's about it.
That is the content king himself, Mark Bryan. Well, thank you for the decades of great art. Congrats on the new record. Looking forward to the Jones Beach show. That is always a great venue for Hootie. And thank you for your time, Mark.
Sure appreciate you.
Paltrocast.